I personally kind of grew up on video games in a large degree. I think that, I mean, there's been study after study that shows there's the obvious things like manual dexterity and the ability, kind of hand-eye coordination and spatial awareness. There's been some very interesting studies, less on children, but I know that surgeons, as example, surgeons who play games perform far better in kind of complex laparoscopic surgery tasks, for example, than surgeons who don't play games. So the kind of hand-eye coordination is particularly good around kids. But I think also it's about problem solving. I know that system theory and system thinking is particularly important. Patience. One of the interesting things I heard is that kids who regularly play games don't give up on tasks quite so quickly because they always perceive that there is a solution. Obviously in video games there's always a solution, there's always a way out of a scenario.
Så det er viktig at vi har mestringsarenaer hvor vi får positiv feedback på at vi er gode og at vi betyr noe.
It's also very interesting that games encourage failure to a certain extent, which is how you learn. You make a mistake or you don't get through level 1 and you realise what you have to do and you go back and play in order to get through and progress through a game and through the story. So it's very helpful in general, I think, for young people and learning about how to navigate life and how to level up in life.
So there's kind of lots of things, and also there's more and more studies coming out about how actually computer games help you become more social. It kind of sounds slightly the antithesis of what people believe, that computer games are about locking yourself in a bedroom and just playing games, but actually there's been studies, plenty of studies that show that games that have a kind of pro-social message, so games that are about helping other people, children that play those games come away being much more pro-social and wanting to help other people.
And there are some games like Limbo, for instance, which is a game about death, which are beautiful works of art, and they really, really evoke quite a lot of emotion and empathy through the story and through the gameplay. And this is really important for children's development. It's just like reading a classic novel at an early age. One of the first books I read was The Hobbit, and I was just addicted to the story and the characters. And if I could have played through that story in different ways throughout a long period of time, I would have been even more engaged, just as engaged as I was reading the novel. And I think people very much underplay that aspect of games.
Also, obviously, the whole physical play side of things really has obviously taken computer and video games away from being a very sedentary, sit on the sofa and just play type pastime to a kind of stand up and get involved, particularly with things like Connect, where it's much more about getting up the sofa and dancing or running or jumping or kind of using a whole physical movement and physical play. I also think that, interestingly, they're great levelers. So something like Connect, for example, I can play a game with my 3-year-old son, whereas he doesn't understand how controllers work, and that's a real barrier for him, and he picks up the controller, doesn't really know what's going on. But yeah, I can now play Connect games with him just as effectively as I could if he was 6, 7, 8, 9, because we're on the same playing field. We can both run up and down, and we can both kind of jump when we're told to jump. So actually it's a great way of kind of removing some of the barriers and actually making it much more of a kind of genuine cooperative or challenging experience. So I think Connect and we, what they've done is they first of all make it a much more physical type activity, and secondly they've just made it much more easier for anyone and everyone to get involved in gaming.